what a day with Donald Trump.
My friends, it has begun. Donald Trump is deploying 1,500 troops to the southern border. Reports of deportation raids are already underway. Asylum access has been cut off to those seeking to enter the country illegally. And now we are hearing that Donald Trump intends to send an additional 8,500 troops to the southern border. And dare I say, my friends, it certainly makes a lot of sense. You want to make an argument to me about the deploying U.S. Military assets, Ukraine funding, Israel, Taiwan, you name it. Make your arguments, and I'm going to stop you right there and say California's on fire right now. If we're going to send the military anywhere for any emergency, let's see what our various men and women in uniform who have signed up to help and serve this country can do for us where it actually matters. That is, those ravaged by the hurricanes and those in California facing serious disaster.
Okay, let's talk about it. Tim Pool on Timcast. You know, I got to do the little intro, so bear with me. But what we're going to talk about here is the raids. The raids have begun. AOC is freaking out. She freaked out today. We've got new news. I'm going to add to the context of this. This is from Timcast. Of course, Tim Pool's doing it on his Timcast channel from just 3 days ago. He got a lot of views on this one, over 250,000. And this is the big topic right now. Donald Trump is not playing games. What's happening right now is complicated. And I don't know. Tim Pool does his thing. He doesn't get into some of the details. I'm going to get into it. Why? Let's take away Elon Musk and the funny country and all that and just look at Trump right now and just say it's complicated. He's got people who are trying to control him, from Susie Wiles to Elon Musk to people who wear hats. And now when it comes to dealing with other countries, he shows how he still is a boss as well. Let's get into the clip and Tim Pool going off on it on Timcast.
Now, okay, you might be saying, Tim, we don't need active duty troops to fight a fire. They're not equipped for it. Maybe there's something we can do. Okay, I know, because the next step would be, how about we use our armed forces to defend our nation? It's a novel thought. Call me old-fashioned, but I think those who sign up to protect and serve this country should protect and serve this country, not be in faraway lands fighting for what? Contractors, hegemonic power. I know that's too cliche to say. It's unfair because it's a simplistic argument. But what are they really doing? And I say,
no, it's not unfair. It's pretty simple. There's no reason for troops to be thousands of miles away when we have problems hundreds of miles away or right on the border, which would be 0 miles away. If you don't know about the troop deployment, here's some of the details that Tim Pool is talking about here on Timcast. 1,500 active duty troops are being sent to the southern border. The deployment began on January 22nd, 4 days before this recording. The troops will join approximately 2,500 National Guard members already stationed at the border. This includes soldiers from the Army and Marines, about 500 Marines and sailors from Camp Pendleton are a part of the deployment. Soldiers from the 101st Airborne Division, Screaming Eagles, are being deployed. They're going to support U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So this is all stuff that could have been done. This is all executive order level stuff. They're going to assist with deportation flights. There's so much news. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cover it all. Let's get back to Tim Pool. I'm going to fast forward this to a separate part here in Tim Pool where he goes specifically into the details a little bit more.
Police say. Police said members of the Boston Police Human Trafficking Unit and officers in the Alston-Brighton district arrested Xiaofeng Wang, 26, of Oakland Gardens, New York, around 8 p.m. Tuesday. Earlier in the day Tuesday, police and detectives launched an investigation into the apartment where this is happening. We get it. And so I want to make sure I'm being clear. I'm not conflating those stories with ICE raids. I'm saying when law enforcement is preparing to do an investigation in a raid, and these people are like, oh no, oh geez, the child is crying, quick, burn the Constitution. I'm like, you realize law enforcement actions do more than just take away legal asylees. First of all, many of them aren't legal asylum seekers. They're lying. And more importantly, there are evil people that need to be stopped. And this is what law enforcement should be doing. But what do we get from the liberals? They say no. We got a post from Charlie Kirk on X. ICE has already arrested nearly 500 violent criminal illegals and removed them from the streets in 36 hours. These are thugs whose whereabouts and crimes were well known by local officials, but Democrats refused to detain. Insanity. Every single arrest means there will be one less Laken Riley, one less Jocelyn Nungry, one less Rachel Morin. Any Democrat sanctuary jurisdictions refusing to comply or worse, actively impeding President Trump's deportation orders must be defunded and likely prosecuted. Mess around and find out. Come on, Charlie.
Charlie Kirk's getting amped up, and we saw today that JD Vance, one of his best moments. JD Vance is going to come through. What's up to everybody in the chat? Yeah, I do need to set up notifications. Chuck's like, hey, I need to. He said, well, he's talking about him setting up notifications, but I need to have a schedule. And some people are coming over from my other channel, Middle MAGA, friends of show. I am doing more on the after show carnage. I'm staying away from certain names and labels. So you're going to get still the authentic takes, but trying to avoid some of the algorithmic pitfalls. Not that the algorithm was the only excuse, but starting fresh here with the after show carnage, grifting off of a Tim Pool, so I can talk about what I really want to talk about. Let's get into it. What I want to talk about right now, thanks for joining, is JD Vance. Oh, wow. I've been very critical of JD Vance, and it's not all bad. You know what I remember about JD Vance? And I'm going to get back to Tim Pool here, but we're going to sidetrack to JD Vance. It's on the same topic, and it's pertinent from today. These headphones are not pink, by the way. I'm more in the Andrew Wilson sphere now, and some of the Andrew Wilson fans, literally in the comments, you can go to some of the Andrew Wilson videos, and they're like, "Man, I like what you had to say. Your headphones are pink, though. Can you fix that?" Literally, they're red. They're red, but I will go back to black headphones if that's the sacrifice I need to make to get a couple like-minded people on the channel. But let's get to JD Vance. And I remember JD Vance from friend of show, right, left of center. We talked about this, and remember we had the stuff happen in East Palestine, Ohio. JD Vance on the spot did an interview with River from right, left of center. This is a YouTube channel that we did back and forth with, and had her on a couple times on my other channel. And she's just like me, just a YouTuber, likes to talk this stuff, authentic takes, great personality and all that. And she was in East Palestine, and Eddie Vance was there when he was senator, obviously. And he just did a impromptu, nobody's there, it's just him. I didn't see any security or nothing, and he was just there, right there. I really respected that. So I do have concerns. I really was mad about JD Vance's take on young Nick, but let's hear how he's good here. So I want to just say I'm going to be fair with him, and this is a great moment here. JD Vance on Face the Nation.
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals
but there are
have been properly
30,000
vetted.
people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary concern as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted. And many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted. And because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country. And I think most Americans agree with me.
Yes, sir. JD Vance has entered the chat. That was absolute fire. Now, I understand. I do chat with a lot of people that you would say is they're on the way further right, and that might not be enough for them. But in that moment, I think even they would say there's no better way to have handled that than what JD Vance did. What he did in the debate when he just mopped the floor with Tim Walz is the same thing he did right here. It's very strong. It's prepared. He's engaged. This is why we need younger people in politics. And Trump's older now. I think he's 78 or something like that. He's older now. He's a little slower, but he's still, he was signing the executive orders and he answered the questions. He's still mentally right there. But I like that pairing with a younger guy, JD Vance. Man, he is on point with this. Tell me what you disagree with that. Let's get back to the Tim Pool part. I could actually spend 10 minutes breaking that one down, but I don't want to bog down. I want to keep it moving. Let's get back to Tim Pool and his talks on the immigration.
You can throw a little slur in there, a little cuss, F around and find out. I know we keep it family friendly, but I do appreciate he said mess around and find out. I do find that to be a bit funny. Now, Trump's going to be given gun and drug agents deportation power, and I am here for it.
I'm going to pause it real quick that I saw Jordan Lott in the chat, and I will respond to your comment, Jordan Lott. Thank you for bringing that up right after I finish this segment.
The directive is the latest in a flurry of moves the new administration has taken on immigration. The Trump administration is attempting to amass a large force of law enforcement officials to help carry out deportations by granting agents across the federal government the same powers as an immigration officer, according to an internal memo seen by the Wall Street Journal. Bless this man, Donald Trump, doing the Lord's work. I'm here for it. The memo sent by acting Homeland Security Secretary Benjamin Huffman says DHS is granting immigration enforcement authority to several agencies at the DOJ, including the DEA, the ATF, and the U.S. Marshals Service. The directive is the latest in a flurry of moves the Trump administration has taken this week to marshal the vast resources of the federal government to carry out the president's signature campaign promise on immigration. Despite those steps, no large-scale immigration operations have yet materialized, but there have been raids. There have been troop deployments, and I'm ready for it. Take a look at this one from Axios. Immigrants rush to prepare for Trump deportation raids. We got Mexico setting up tents ready to take in those that have been removed from this country. And now, my friends, I give you the true political moment.
And
here we go. This is Ocasio-Cortez saying that what Trump is doing is illegal. Listen.
Let's get to the fun part here, and we have to laugh to prevent ourselves from getting too bogged down. Timcast is going to go in on
foundational documents of American society and try to end birthright citizenship, which basically, as we know, if you are born in the United States, you are a United States citizen.
Wrong. That is just the illegal action taken by a government that has been unchecked for a long time. And oh boy, I brought the receipts.
Listen, that remains. That is the law. That is.
Tim is absolutely correct here. This is a great segment from Tim.
The Constitution.
Nope.
And
that is liars like her and failed politicians and people of failing moral standards that have allowed this tragedy to take place. And again, I brought the receipts.
And he just tried to sign a piece of paper trying to say no. We don't have to listen to him. It's illegal. We don't have to take this seriously. It's a joke.
Okay. Actually, as you please, don't take it seriously and ignore it, because we're going to carry on doing our mandate. And I brought the receipts.
And that's not to say that what they're trying to do isn't serious. It is serious, but we should not consent in advance.
Okay, fine. Well, my friends, I'm going to break it down for you because.
And for those who don't understand what's happening in our chat, Chuck, I want to just highlight this as we go to Tim breaking it down. He does a great job on this. Don't miss this. Chuck, friend of the show, says, I am Tejano. Hispanics who are pro-illegal immigration are self-loathing. Hispanic people commit crimes against other Hispanic people, something like 85% of the time. I will not sacrifice my kids. If you don't understand, it's a great comment to talk about. My parents are Jamaican. I've talked about that many times, but if you're new to the channel, don't know. I was born here, but I do have that perspective as well. And my father always taught me to be grateful of what we've got, grateful that they were able to come here, become citizens. It's a long process, expensive if you don't have a lot of money, and came here basically with nothing, worked very hard, saved money, had a very humble home, very high interest rates at the time in the 70s, 80s, I believe, higher than they are now. Didn't buy, never had a new car from the lot. I never got a new car from the lot until I was over 30 years old. Was the first time I ever experienced that, and negotiating at the dealer and all that. And we had used cars, everything in our house damn near is from a garage sale. And it was very smart, microwave, like all this stuff, very cheap, $20 microwaves, and all that, saving that money adds up. And that's the American dream, really. If you want to talk about what the American dream is, it's very different versions of it. You could be a CEO, but you could also come here, save money, work hard, take the bus in the snow, save up, get cars, have kids, have the kids come up. And what Chuck, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but the vibe I get from you, Chuck, is that we look at promoting illegal immigration as a disrespect to the immigrants before. So now it makes all immigrants look like they want to get free health care, get free this, get free that, get put up in hotels and all kinds of ridiculous, get credit cards and all kinds of ridiculous nonsense we're not putting up with anymore. Let me get back to Timcast here.
Because we had this discussion on Timcast IRL the other night, and I was correct. And the argument of the 14th Amendment, this may be a shock to many of you, but I've done a bit of reading on the Civil War. Now, I'm not going to pretend to be a historian of the Civil War because literally anyone who's ever done any research on it knows more than I do, but I've done a little bit. And in reading about the 14th Amendment, I came across an interesting discussion. The 14th Amendment was descriptive, not prescriptive. And that means it is from this point and back, not from this point and forward. The intention of the 14th Amendment's birthright citizenship clause was intended to say the people within our borders that we have jurisdiction over completely, they were born here, of course they are citizens. It was intending to grant citizenship to former slaves after the Civil War, when the 13th Amendment abolished slavery about 99%, because you can still enslave someone if they're in jail. What happened later on was there was a hearing that said, no, actually, anyone who born here, that means anyone from here on and forward. What? That was never the intention. There was a prescription in our founding documents through law and policy on how to deal with the naturalization process. Yet here we are. So I talked to our good friend Grok and asked it the question. I said, was the 14th Amendment intended to give all people born here citizenship in the future? And it goes on to say, the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, ratified in 1868, was intended to address issues of citizenship and rights following the Civil War, particularly to secure the rights of former slaves. Specifically, Section 1 of the 14th Amendment states, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. The clause was primarily aimed at overturning the Dred Scott Sanford decision of 1857, which had declared that African Americans could not be citizens, granting citizenship to former slaves and their descendants, thereby ensuring they could not be deprived of their rights by the states, protecting the rights of all persons within the jurisdiction of the United States against state infringement, blah, blah, blah. There's more in there. The 14th Amendment has Section 3, which says insurrectionists can't be in Senate or Congress and things like that.
Yeah, we know that one. On my other channel, Middle MAGA, I broke that down in depth. That's when Colorado, the state I'm in, tried to flex and take Trump off the ballot because they knew he was going to win in a landslide. We're going to finish up this segment here quick with Tim Pool. I'll give you my takeaway.
It goes on to say this: the phrase "subject to the jurisdiction thereof" was included to exclude certain categories of people from automatic citizenship, such as children born of foreign diplomats or to Native American tribes not taxed by the federal government, and interpretation over time. Hold on. This is what really bothers me. The question I had was the 14th Amendment intended to give all people citizenship? And it said the language was to exclude children of foreign diplomats. No, the language was literally and specifically intended to exclude all foreigners. The intention was Native Americans are of their own nation. That's true. The United States said the Native American territories are their own nations. They are not American citizens. They're excluded. Foreigners, period. I brought the receipts. It says, so while the primary intent was to secure citizenship for African Americans post-Civil War, the text and legal interpretations have extended this to mean that all persons born in the U.S., with very limited exceptions, are granted citizenship. Hold on! Shouldn't it be the intent of what the amendment was supposed to do, not how we later decide to read the text?
Yes, that's why I'm very big on being, this is amendment here, but an originalist, it's a more modern one, but from at least the interpretation there, an originalist interpretation of everything there. That's why I'm very big on that. Because if you don't, then now you're in, I think that it should apply in this case, even though that wasn't the intent on the time. You can morph it into whatever you want it to be. Here's my takeaway on this. I put it on Twitter and people have, said, hey, it sounds gay or whatever you want to say. But I will say it again. Daddy's home. He's not playing around. I'm just looking at what's happening here. He's ramping up the number of deportations, obviously starting with the criminals, which is a smart move. I don't think he's going to get beyond the criminals, but I'm going to stop making calls because I've been wrong on a lot of Trump calls. Other than the funny country, I've been wrong on a lot with Trump. He did the J6 stuff and all that. He's ramping it up. What we see right now from today, he came through Colorado, right through Colorado, close to where I'm at, and scooped up a bunch of these people that were involved in that unsavory activity down over here that blew up a little while ago. And he's rounding them up. We seen them on the local news here, man. It's crazy. People are like, whoa. And it's criminals. So people are like, whoa, okay, this is getting serious now. And they're coming out. We're seeing Dr. Phil filming in Chicago when they're rounding up these criminals as well. And then it all kind of it all kind of came to a head, basically, in Colombia. This morning, we found out that Colombia didn't want to take some of their own people back. I wouldn't want my trash back either. But Donald Trump said, you're going to have to take your trash back. Colombia issued a statement saying that they were basically going to change their mind. This is after Trump came out and said, nah, you're going to have to take these people, or we're going to have problems with tariffs. What a day over there. And then all of this happened within hours where I saw it. So the Colombia said, we're not taking these trash people back. Isn't that interesting? That pretty much confirms they shouldn't be here. Colombia didn't even want them back. And then the Colombian government issued a statement saying that they will change their stance regarding the acceptance of deported from the United States. These are legals. I'm using Perplexity AI. These are trusted sources, YouTube, as you're listening. These are trusted sources. President aircraft deployment. President Gustavo Petro made the presidential aircraft available to facilitate the dignified return. And Donald Trump's like, you can call it whatever the hell you want to call it, but you're going to take this trash back. The government said they had a commitment to guaranteeing dignified conditions. Okay, Donald Trump's like, that doesn't matter what the conditions are as long as you take these people back, and they did. So remember Tucker Carlson had that speech where I even said it was a little cringe. He went a little far when he was like, I think he was talking about Trump where he said, hey, the father came back home and now the teenagers stop acting the fool.
And the second reason you can't allow it is very familiar to anyone who has children, which is if you allow it, you will encourage more of it. If you allow people to get away with things that are completely over the top and outrageous, if you allow your 2-year-old to smear the contents of his diapers on the wall of your living room and you do nothing about it, if you allow your 14-year-old to light a joint at the breakfast table, if you allow your hormone-addled 15-year-old daughter to slam the door of her bedroom and give you the finger, you're going to get more of it. And those kids are going to wind up in rehab. It's not good for you, and it's not good for them. No. There has to be a point at which Dad comes home. Yeah, that's right. Dad comes home. And he's pissed. Dad is pissed. He's not vengeful. He loves his children. Disobedient as they may be, he loves them. Because they're his children. They live in his house. But he's very disappointed in their behavior. And he's going to have to let them know. He's going to have to get to your room right now and think about what you did. And when Dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl, and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now. And no, it's not going to hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it's not. I'm not going to lie. This is going to hurt you a lot more than it hurts me. And you earned this. You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl. And it has to be this way. It has to be this way because it's true. And you're only going to get better when you take responsibility for what you did. That's not said in the spirit of hate. It's not said in the spirit of vengeance or bigotry. Far from it. It's said in the spirit of justice, which is the purest and best thing there is. And without it, things fall apart.
That's exactly what we got going on.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to After Show Carnage.